This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
So, the commodification of women's bodies. Oh.
I was like,
Okay.
sir, not this. The commodification of women's bodies.
We're getting into... Is that what it sound like?
No.
Yeah, it is. It is.
In late 2015, a video uploaded to Vine by two girls from North Carolina went viral. The video showed the two girls dancing to Fetty Wap's newly released single, Jimmy Choos. It's Jimmy Choo, not Jimmy Choos, even though they come in a pair, but it's Jimmy Choo. You know what? So Fetty had released his song on November 5th, 2015, and Vine was actually at the height of its popularity around that time. In December of that same year, it had amassed over 200 million users. For those of you that don't know, Vine was TikTok before TikTok was TikTok, except it was more sketches and stuff and way shorter. Like you had 5 seconds to go viral, literally. Now back in 2015, we weren't doing challenges as much as we are now. And by challenges, I mean dance challenges. But this video sort of created a challenge to Fetty Wap's Jimmy Choo, with fellow Vine users recreating the girls' dance in random gas stations throughout the country. It always seemed to be at a gas station. Y'all are committed to the details. I appreciate that. But this video isn't about the challenge. It's about the section of the song those girls chose to highlight. Slim thick with your cute ass. A, I might buy you a new bag. Only if she's slim thick, Fetty. Tell me what you say. Is it money or is me? Something. She's like, Monty, can you be my baby daddy? I'm like, yeah, man. Oh, summer 2016, playing dirty, not clean. Memories. Those were some memories. Oh, we won't talk about those. I think that's the summer I turned 23. It was a fun summer. Okay, Khadijah. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Khadijah, your favorite internet play auntie. Hello to all my returning nieces, nephews, and nibblings, and my fellow aunties, uncles, and pibblings. If you're new, feel free to take a look around, suss out the vibe. I just sit in my workspace and talk about
whatever I'm feeling.
Anyway, today, what are we doing? Today we're talking about slim, thick bodies, about BBLs, about the ever-growing normality of plastic surgery in this internet hellscape. I thought this one could be a fun, well, not really fun, but kind of fun departure. Thank you. God, speaking is hard. I thought this could be a fun departure since that CRT trilogy was a lot. So I'm gonna be explaining what the slim thick body type is, how it started to seem one way and then turned into something else, still similar, but with more plastic surgery involved. I'm gonna be talking about how this body type has become more popular, how it spurred the increase in BBLs. I'm gonna give you a little bit of history about the BBL, about the procedure, the potential dangers, some of the possible benefits of the operation for people that have chosen to get it. And the last part's gonna get a little personal. I'm gonna talk about my own journey with plastic surgery and body insecurities and all of that. Fun fact, I cried after writing this script real hard. Was it my hormones? Was it my insecurities? Was it a deadly combination of the two? Who knows? So sad. I cried so much. Oh my God. So strap in because it's gonna get vulnerable, but also hopefully fun and educational. But before we get all vulnerable and educational, let's give a shout out to our sponsor. Y'all, it is becoming more important now more than ever, I would say, for all of us to develop an online presence. A lot of y'all be messaging me about how to get started if you don't have social media and all this other stuff. And while I do think you need to have social media, and if you want to amass some sort of audience on the internet, if you're reluctant to do that, building a website is the next best thing, and that's where Squarespace comes in, y'all. They got you from a personal website to online stores to marketing to analytics. Squarespace is literally a one-stop shop, all-in-one platform to help you build a beautiful online presence. And, you know, run whatever business you choose to. That's legal, of course. Come on now. The first website I ever built for myself in my opera days was with Squarespace. And I was doing it actually for a school assignment, but I got a really good mark on that one because the guy was like, oh my God, this looks so professional. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. I did it myself with Squarespace. And the discount code that a podcast had offered, you know what I'm saying? So head to squarespace.com/KhadijahMbo and enter promo code KhadijahMbo to get 10% off your first website or domain. That's squarespace.com/KhadijahMbo. Promo code KhadijahMbo. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, and let's get into it. So BuzzFeed actually has a really great introductory video about different types of ideal women's bodies throughout history and throughout different regions. Honestly, they focus on like dynasties and global superpowers, but if you want to learn about that, I will link the video below. Starts from about ancient Egypt and continues on to today. So the basic theme that I noticed with these ideal women's body types throughout history, and another video that I watched pointed this out. I'm gonna put it here because I forgot the YouTuber's name. I'm so terrible. But there seems to be this fluctuation between skinny body types and bigger ones. So like the skinny ones are like the boyish figures of the 1920s flapper era, and then the 60s mod era, kind of reminiscent of adolescence, and the 90s heroin chic era bleeding into the early 2000s, which was still kind of heroin chic, but with like slightly tanned skin and real long torsos. Like we loved a long torso in the early 2000s. It seems like there's that end of the spectrum, and then there's the curvier aspect, and those are like women of the Victorian era, Victorian England. There are the Hollywood starlets from the 40s and 50s, and our present era of slim, thick Instagram baddies, which seems to be an amalgamation of a few of these ideal body types. So, according to Urban Dictionary, we love our Urban Dictionary definitions. The slim, thick body is a girl with a slim body shape, but a big booty and big thighs, usually with a small waist and flat stomach. Now, a lot of people's bodies are naturally shaped this way, with the exception of the super flat, almost concave stomach and thigh gap, but we'll talk about surgery more in a bit. The slim, thick body type has been popular in a lot of racialized communities of color, particularly racialized Black and brown communities. I grew up in the South, in Georgia, and I was always tall and skinny and got made fun of for not having enough meat on my bones, and especially for not having an ass. Like, you cannot have an ass in Georgia. It's just, at least not in a racialized Black community. It's just not a good look. When I went back to the Gambia, where my family's from, in 2017, I'd gained, I'd say probably like 20 or so pounds since the last time I'd been there. All of a sudden I had a body now. Everyone was like, "Denga am yaram legi," which is basically, oh, you've got body now. All of my aunts and stuff would either compliment or say something. Like, my mom hadn't seen me in a while, so she was like, "Oh, look at you. You finally have a butt now. Remember when Khadijah didn't have a butt?" But that's something that I've always just grown up around, and I think a lot of you that watch these videos have. You know, you walk into a relative's house, and if you're socialized as a girl, the first thing they ask you or talk to you about is your weight, and if you have a boyfriend. It's like, those topics go hand in hand, but it's like you can't go to a family gathering without those two subjects. And maybe what you're doing in school. That's probably like the last question. Anyway, when I was talking about the ideal body type, woman's body type throughout history, not all of them, as we know, but a good portion of them were through a racialized white Western lens. And the difference is, you have the original slim thick body and the influencer slim thick body. Those are the distinctions I'm gonna make, because the original slim thick body type, belly fat, no thigh gap and all, has been a body type celebrated in racialized Black and brown communities for a long time, even when it wasn't the ideal woman's body type in the present. Whereas the influencer slim thick body type is the new iteration, comes with some new tweaks and some new adjustments that aren't typically found in nature. is the best way I can describe that. And we have two groups of women to thank for this distinction, or as examples of this distinction. So I talked about this in my Video Vixen video, but the typical body type of the late 90s, early 2000s Video Vixen was exactly this. It was medium to large breast, a small waist, an ass you could bounce a quarter off of. You know, it was either figure 8 or a pear, an extreme pear. Those are like the two body types, or some mixture of the two. Think Melissa Ford, think Buffy the Body. As a couple of examples, Google "you disrespected Buffy the Body," because when Maddie was trying to figure out who this was, all that came up was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I know we stan Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but still, I ain't gonna disrespect Buffy the Body like that. These women, as far as I know, naturally had these types of bodies, probably paired with some diet and exercise. Maddie did point out that in the late 90s, early 2000s, boob jobs were the thing that people were getting, so maybe a good portion of them had boob jobs, but I don't think, and this is not fact, but I'm not thinking that a lot of them had butt implants and surgeries done, as far as I know. Yes, even back then, this body type seemed unattainable, but it still felt realistic. Their bellies were mostly flat still, but there was a bit of a softness to them. Their boobs were sometimes altered, but I don't know if it was necessarily the norm. Their thighs had no gaps, since carrying a booty of a certain size requires thighs and hips that can really carry that weight, you know? I am sure, even if I'm talking about how natural their bodies were, I'm sure that some of these women got cosmetic procedures and body modifications and all that, for sure. But it didn't seem, a grain of salt, because I was like 8 or 9 during this time, but it didn't seem like it was as pervasive as it is now. But another group of women would help to change that. They're the ones who gave us the influencer slim thick body. Is this like media culture critic? Like, now I've come up with terms. We have the original slim thick and the influencer slim thick, or the Instagram slim thick. Comment below. So I've talked about the Kardashians on this channel before. Some folks accused me of being a hater, and honestly, some of y'all take YouTube videos too seriously. Like, I know there's a seriousness about sharing your opinion online, but sometimes y'all some of it's not that deep. In 2007, the Kardashians were introduced to us via their hit reality show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Before that, the family's main celebrity at the time, Kim, was a celebrity stylist, closet organizer, and sidekick to the OG influencer, Miss Paris Hilton.
Can I get my picture with you? Steve, come here. This is my husband. Come on, you gotta take a picture of me. Here.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really.
When Paris was ruling Hollywood nightlife, the size 00 body was all the rage, with those super long torsos and those really tiny bags. Kind of like right now, but a bit different. Like, women's pants were getting lower and lower to show off their flat stomachs and protruding pelvic bones. It was interesting. What an interesting time. No one with a slim, thick body type had a chance of making it as a famous celebrity, socialite, or model unless they were shaking their ass in a Jay-Z video. And even then, mainstream success wasn't likely unless you already had it. Like, I'm thinking about Beyonce. She's always had this sort of slim, thick body type, but she was a bit smaller back then, so it wasn't as like boom, you know? Even J-Lo, people have always talked about J-Lo's ass, but J-Lo is still quite slim. So yeah, it's not to say that women that had this body type never got any celebrity or anything at that time. It's just that it wasn't the ideal standard at the time. But then Kim K and Ray J let the world see Kim's famous derriere in action. Allegedly. And I'm just saying allegedly because we can't say that either one of those two people released it or knew that it was about to be released, and I'm not trying to get sued, so. Taking notes from Paris, because Paris Hilton also had a famous sex tape leak, and that's what a lot of people credit to her fame. Even though she was super young when it happened and was dating someone that was very old, and it's a very sketchy situation. I don't know why we were at, you know what? Different time. Taking notes though from Paris, Kim quickly surpassed her skitty blonde bestie in terms of celebrity and relevance, and her booty gave her a little extra nudge. As Kim Kardashian was becoming more famous, her butt was honestly the talk of the town. Interviewers were always asking her if it was real, if they could touch it, all that sort of stuff. She even, on an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, filmed herself at a doctor's office getting an x-ray to prove that there was nothing in her butt, to put the rumors to rest.
What brings you in today?
This is a really crazy request. My sisters have dared me to get a butt x-ray because there are so many rumors that I have butt implants. And I'm so tired of them, so I really just want to get like a butt x-ray so I can show the whole world.
This was in 2011. So as Kim's celebrity began to rise, as her sister's celebrity began to rise, as they allegedly started to dabble in cosmetics, a new version of the slim, thick body began to emerge. This one, the influencer slim thick, or Instagram slim thick body, involved thigh gaps, not all the time, but a lot of the time, the flattest of flat stomachs, and a big old ass.
Damn, too much booty in the pants.
Now, the reason I kept leaning towards words like natural and organic is because I think it's important to stress that the slim thick upgrade is not common in nature. It's not found in nature, as far as I know. And if it is, it's a very small percentage of people. 100%, there are people who naturally have this type of body, or they work out so they can create this type of shape with the way that they work out. Like you can body sculpt and all those things and eat different types of food to get that, for sure. But a good majority of the girls on Instagram and TikTok and stuff were not born with these assets. Ladies, some of you just weren't, and that's okay. But baby, this is America and Canada. Lands of opportunity, lands of freedom, lands whose founding principles still hold true. If you don't have it, you can get it as long as you have money. Even if you don't have money, if you have access to credit, you can get, you know, okay. So when I was in Phoenix visiting my partner, we went to Scottsdale Mall, which is apparently Scottsdale is just apparently a very affluent area, but she kept pointing out all these people that had BBLs. Now, I knew the slim thick body type, the influencer slim thick body type, was rampant on the internet, but I've spent a lot of time really trying to curate my Instagram feed so that I have all sorts of body types, all kinds of people, just as many different types of bodies that I can see all day, because I think that's important. Like, the internet isn't gonna do it for you. You have to do that work yourself. So I've honestly think I've been kind of naive to how popular this trend has gotten. But seeing how many YouTubers have made videos about BBLs and all this sort of stuff, I thought it would be kind of fun to learn about it, the history of it, and yeah, so let's talk about the BBL. Where did it come from? Where we get her from? So the BBL, or Brazilian butt lift, is a cosmetic procedure that uses liposuction and or fat grafting to change the shape of your body. Specifically your hips, waist, and of course, your booty.
Booty, 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 rocking everywhere.
If you have body fat in parts of your stomach and lower back, the fat can be removed with liposuction and placed in your butt and hips to give you a more voluptuous shape. If you don't have enough fat in your body, you'd get a fat graft, and apparently only up to 80% of grafted fat survives in the body. So patients who do this option end up having to follow up with more procedures, some more surgery to maintain their new physiques. That is all I can confidently say about the procedure of the BBL, because I think watching videos with surgeons actually explaining this procedure and / or reading articles with surgeons explaining it is your best bet. Sources will be below. Yes. So cosmetic surgery or plastic surgery is actually not a super new concept. I mean, doctors are performing breast augmentations as early as the late 1800s, but when did surgeons stop looking at boobs and start looking at booties?
Booty, 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 rocking everywhere.
Well, according to Days Beauty, Brazilian plastic surgeon Ivo Petigai, Dr. P is credited for being the creator of the Brazilian butt lift back in the 1960s, with innovations to the procedure happening over the preceding decades, of course. In 1964, Dr. P published a paper on, you know what? No, that's not fair.
Ivo Pitangui.
Ivo Pitangui. All right, y'all, sorry. I had to BRB for a second so that I could actually pronounce his name correctly because I need to put respect on someone's name. So, in 1964, Dr. Ivo Patangea, I might have gotten that still wrong, but I think that's right, published a paper on early butt lift surgery. Early butt lifts revolved in moving skin and tissue to correct sagging, but at the time, there wasn't a way to transfer the fat that was removed and use it in other areas to increase volume. Like I mentioned before, in the decades that followed, you had innovations to the procedure here and there. You even had the first butt implant surgery being performed by a Dr. R.J. Bartels in 1969. But the rise of liposuction in the 1980s is what really helped shape this new method of body contouring. There's a lot of like puns and stuff in this script. Using fat removed from the body via liposuction and re-injecting it into other parts of the body became popular in the 90s after Sidney Coleman, a plastic surgeon from New York City, published a series of papers outlining a standardized practice for this complicated procedure. And the rest, as they say, was herstory. Now, BBLs may not have been super popular during the heroin chic era aesthetic of the 90s, but as we got into the late 2000s and early 2010s, the big booty fantasy was on the rise. Thanks in part to changing beauty standards as always, and of course celebrities like Kim Kardashian and Nicki Minaj, you know. Now we see the BBLs aren't going away anytime soon and are quickly becoming the fastest growing cosmetic procedure in the United States. According to the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, the amount of BBLs jumped from just 8,500 people in 2012 to over 20,000 in 2017. Also, according to the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, in 2015, some type of butt-related procedure was performed every 30 minutes. This is all types, not just BBLs, but clearly we've been obsessed with the BBL for like the last decade or so. A plastic surgery office in Pittsburgh dubbed 2014 the year of the rear. What can I say? We love our booties. But is all of this shaping necessary? More importantly, is it safe? So I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, but we got to talk about the potential dangers of this cosmetic procedure before we get into the benefits and all that stuff, because it's important. And yes, I will be fair and talk about the possible benefits because everything has good and bad, and we're talking about individual people, you know, so, well, and society. So the bad about this one is that according to an urgent press release put out by the American Society of Plastic Surgeons in 2018, up to 1 in 3,000 people actually die from BBL procedures every year. They called it an alarming rate of mortality. It's not clear if it's including American board certified surgeons and people going to like DR to get it or random places where maybe they're certified in other specialties, but not that. But either way, no matter where you're going, no matter how specialized they are, no matter who the surgeon is in any part of the world, no matter their level of expertise, there are still risks. One of the main risks associated with the BBL procedure, besides that stat about that I read you, is the risk of fat embolisms. Let me see if I can explain this well. If not, there are going to be articles below that you can read. Basically, if a surgeon hits a blood vessel where they're re-injecting the fat into, which is easy to do because butts have high volumes of blood vessels, it can actually get into your bloodstream, go into your heart, and kill you. So that's not great. The other, not necessarily risk, but thing to consider about the BBL procedure is recovery time. Surgery isn't some cute little thing you do to your body, even if it's cosmetic. It's a traumatic event to the body. Not me thinking I know so much about surgery after watching Grey's Anatomy repeatedly for the last decade. But it is something traumatic to the body, and your body needs time to recover. And with BBLs, some doctors say you can't sit on your butt or lie on your back for a minimum of 3 weeks after the surgery. Either way, because this operation is still relatively new, because the 1960s weren't that long ago, it seems like there are kinks that doctors all over the world are still trying to sort out, especially because this operation has become so popular. And lots of other potential risks just have to do with your individual medical history. If you're someone who's prone to blood clots, surgery of any kind can be risky, but BBLs, baby, you might want to rethink that. Now you're probably wondering, if people do their research, see how risky it is, then why would they still want to get the surgery? The biggest benefit that I saw in videos of people who spoke about their BBLs was confidence. It seems like for people, it can be a life-changing confidence booster like any cosmetic procedure. And in terms of how your clothes fit, how your bathing suits look, how your pictures pop off on Instagram, it can also be that extra boost in confidence one might need.
It has been 2 months since my Brazilian butt lift, and I have been loving every second of it. The whole liposuction just really shaped me really pretty, I think, and it's very feminine and kind of sexy. I feel ecstatic, I feel happy, I feel anxious to show off my results. I feel like this is the body I was supposed to have. It fits with the rest of me, it fits with my family, and it just fits with everything I want to do in my life.
There's also a benefit that a lot of people don't consider when it comes to BBL, specifically on racialized Black and brown bodies. In Shamika Sanders' Hello Beautiful article from earlier this year, Sanders notes, Black women's bodies have always been associated with curvy and full figures. It's something as Black women we learn at a very early age, whether we fit the ideal body mold or not. The way our bodies are shaped has been conversation starters since Sarah Bartman, and today is no different, especially when you log on Twitter and see BBLs trending. In this article, Sanders recalled this viral tweet, I'll show it here, from Twitter user @Muvau_Gofty. Mother of Gofty. Damn. You see how when everything's mashed together, I read that so... Mother of Gotti. Okay. This article goes on to show how some racialized Black women on Twitter were defending these women that were all going to DR to get the BBL. It's so annoying watching people bend over backwards to criticize women who get BBLs, like we haven't been sensationalizing having a fat ass all their life, like their desire to get a BBL just came out of thin air. It's all this love your body after the fact. Let's be fair. They shame Coi Leray for being skinny, Megan Thee Stallion for being tall and strong, Saweetie for plastic surgery, and Lizzo for having fat. I'm starting to think there's no right way to occupy a body when you're a woman. No, let's talk about it. So BBLs are dangerous and women shouldn't be putting their lives at risk to achieve a beauty standard, right? But what do y'all do to bodies that aren't conventionally attractive? Go on, tell the class. These ladies are right. It's impossible to be socialized as a woman in this world and keep up with the ideal body type or beauty standard of the day, especially when the internet has us going through these trends at warp speed. And I know that's mostly for like fashion trends, but who's to say it won't move from clothes and onto our bodies, especially with how pervasive and normalized plastic surgery is becoming, particularly if you roll in circles of people that have money. Women who occupy racialized Black and brown bodies are supposed to have slim, thick figures. It's natural. And if you're a racialized Black or brown woman that doesn't, everybody will let you know. If you decide to get a BBL to change all of that, everyone will turn around and clown you for it. Some of y'all need to think before you tweet, and that's why I'm not doing Twitter. I just won't. Side note, but it still kind of fits. In 2019, Code Switch, a podcast that I talk a lot about on this channel, did an episode about how common EDs are becoming in racialized Black and brown communities because of how obsessed our relatives are with our bodies. Highly recommend y'all check it out, linked below. So in researching this video, I had to start asking myself to evaluate my relationship to plastic surgery, to the point where I was like, maybe it isn't so bad. Like, it's pervasive in society, but maybe that's not a bad thing. And that's kind of hard for me to say out loud because I'm not sure if it's what I really think or if I'm just super impressionable, and because plastic surgery is so common, or because it's so common now, maybe I've been conditioned into not looking at it as such a bad ideal anymore, or such a big deal. I don't know. It honestly is probably a combination of the two, because I believe in bodily autonomy and think adults should be able to do whatever they want with their bodies.
Booty, 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 rocking everywhere.
However, yet and still, I can't help but wonder how younger people feel about all of this. Being an influencer is becoming a legit line of work. I think The Take talked about how influencers are like a burgeoning new professional class. With that new line of work, class, whatever you want to call it, there are expectations about how you're supposed to look. If you're, I don't know, under the age of 25, let's say, and all of a sudden you're wealthy and famous, what's an operation here, a little tweak there. Remember tweakments from my Instagram face video? What's the big deal about a few tweakments here or there if it's all going towards solidifying your staying power? Because that's what being an influencer is at the end of the day, trying to stay as relevant as possible. And if this body type is the most in, you do the math. And while I don't think that BBLs are an epidemic amongst teenagers, because I doubt that random doctors are like, yeah, I'll give you a BBL to like a 15-year-old. Like, I don't think that that's what's happening. Oh no, I can't help but feel for our nieces, nephews, and nibblings, you know? Especially those that are on TikTok, because those BBL recovery posts were trending for a while. And according to Centennial Beauty, teens and children make up the majority of active TikTok users, with Statistica estimating that 25% of TikTok's US user base is in the under 19 age group. When I was growing up, I know I say that like I'm 80, I'm 29, but when I was growing up, the internet was around, but things like Instagram didn't exist. Instagram became popular when I was out of high school in my late teens and early 20s. So yes, I was still having more access than I needed to like friends and family and stuff, but the early days of Instagram were nothing like they are now. We were all using very questionable filters, probably the same ones from RuPaul's Drag Race season 1, and wearing high-waist pants. So people's body altercations, altercations. I'm saying altercations like it's a fight, but I mean when you alter a clothing item. Altercations, 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 not altercations, altercations. I swear I know English. But those body modifications weren't as accessible as they are now. And I mean accessible in terms of you weren't seeing them on your Instagram feed as much as you are now. And now it's time for me to confess, because this may surprise some of y'all. But when I was in my early 20s, I heavily considered getting a boob job. I didn't talk about it to many people, if any, but it was something I was seriously considering. I would look at my boobs in mirrors and think, okay, if I was just like 1 cup size bigger, I'd be happier. Because I'm kind of in the in-between of like a pear and an hourglass shape, though I say I'm more of a pear shape. But I thought if my boobs were just a little bit bigger, I'd be an hourglass. And then I thought that if my boobs are bigger, it would make my waist look smaller and it would just even out compared to how big my hips are and stuff. Like, I genuinely was like trying to do that kind of math in my head. This was back in 2012, 2013. So right when the Instagram influencer slim thick body type was on the rise. The main inspiration though for my boob job wasn't a Kardashian or Miss Onika Mirage. It was actually Kelly Rowland. So I found out she had gotten her boobs done and they didn't seem excessive or look unnatural. And I was like, oh, cute. Okay, maybe I could do something like that. My boobs have since gotten bigger as I've gotten older. So have other parts because I've gained weight. And that has caused me to wonder again if I want to get any procedures to make me more happy with my body. And the truth is, okay, when I wrote this script, the truth was yes, because I was having a crisis. I was having a crisis. It's less yes now, but I'll still follow the script a bit just to kind of tell you what I was thinking. Like I said before, I pride myself on how eclectic my Instagram feed is, of the way I've curated it, of how I've like intentionally gone out to seek different types of bodies. So I know that most people are not walking around looking like Cardi B or Kim Kardashian. But the funny thing is that because I naturally have this sort of hairy, hourglassy type shape, because I see people with this same body shape having the flattest of the flat tummies, it started to make me self-conscious, specifically about my stomach. I know that genetics contribute to where fat decides to collect on your body. I know that I can't control that besides what I eat and working out and stuff, but like up until like a few days ago, I was just feeling really bad about my body. Like, just really shitty. And I'm usually good about either not voicing that to people or feeling it for a day and then just having perspective, or being like, oh, I'm super bloated, oh, my period's coming next week. You know, like I'm usually pretty good about like not taking myself too seriously when I start to feel weird, but I'm getting older. You know, I'm gonna be 30 next year. My body is changing. I'm on medication, and there are many other factors So even if I have the most eclectic Instagram feed in the world, even if I'm not like on TikTok all that much seeing body or BBL recovery videos, somehow I still see images of women with my same body shape. And when I do, they never have stomach attached to it. So it ends up making me feel like there's something wrong with me. I see these women that are pear-shaped, curvy, whatever you want to call it, but all of them have these super flat stomachs. And like my stomach is, if I'm not sucking it in all the time, which I do all the time actually, if I'm not sucking in my stomach, it's not flat like that, like bathing suit posy, like, you know. And I know that I didn't talk about the technology thing of how people will use apps to change that stuff, change their body shape and whatnot, but either way, the result is the same. They're still in these Instagram influencer slim thick bodies with the flattest of flat stomachs, not a single ounce of fat anywhere except for their butt and maybe their hips and some of them their thighs, but mostly booty, you know. And it makes me feel like all of a sudden my perfectly normal average body, like I'm not even sitting here thinking like,
Oh my god, I'm like not skinny enough.
no, but my average regular body that I usually love, I'm starting to look at and be like, your stomach needs to be flatter, Khadija, because people will expect, if you have this type of body shape with the hips and whatever ratios or whatever, that your stomach is also going to be flat. And because it isn't, jeans look weird on you. Like, that's the other thing. I wonder, you know what? Let's get into the final thoughts so I can do this. So getting into this a bit more, the other reason that I am feeling a bit self-conscious probably in all of this is because hormones, you know, it happens. I'm not pregnant or anything, but you know, I have been filming myself a lot and looking at myself a lot. And usually I'm good about like, I don't know, kind of like turning my brain off a bit when I'm filming, or turning the part of my brain off that's staring at myself and like, or that recognizes Khadija. Like I'm good about like just being like, this is a YouTube person. This isn't Khadija. Like I treat my videos like I'm editing a stranger's videos almost. But sometimes it still creeps in and I'm just looking at myself, especially when I'm sitting down and I'm like, ooh, are you looking a bit chubbier in this? Like when I did the Video Vixen video, I was feeling self-conscious about the crop top that I was wearing because it felt like I was like, if I bent in a certain position, my stomach wouldn't look flat. Like, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. And the other part that I have to acknowledge about that is that I like every part of my body except for my stomach, except for the weight that I carry there, which is natural because I have extra weight in my hips, thighs, and butt. So I have to stop and be like, okay, it's the Instagram influencer slim, thick body type and the expectation of a flat stomach with that. It's also probably internalized fat phobia, Khadija. Be honest with yourself, which is hard for me to say because I think I always say this. We all like to believe that we're much nicer and much better people than we actually are. And it's not to say that we're all evil, terrible, bad people, but we all have capacity to do harm to each other and ourselves. And we have to think about that. And so I think about, is it still okay for me to be accepting of fat bodies if I can't accept that my body will gain weight? Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I have an answer to that because genuinely in my core, I just think that people just have bodies and that's just what it is. And if your body is doing stuff to help you, then great. But for my body, for me, I get self-conscious if I like have gained weight. I don't know. And I was talking to a friend about it yesterday. So her and I have like similar-ish bodies and stuff. And so I was just like, you know, I wish that I either was like 20 pounds lighter in terms of like where the fat's collecting in my body, or like 40 pounds heavier so that I could actually just be as curvy as I am. I feel like because I'm taller, I'm in this in-between place where if I'm not in the skinnier end-ish of my body, then you can see my shape, but it still looks a bit unhealthy, or it doesn't look like nicely shaped. But I've never been in like the bigger end to like see what my body would look like that. But I'd rather be that or the skinnier version than this in between where I just have like a few pounds. I don't know. This is still a lot that I'm thinking about. So few, but I don't know. It's just, yeah, I think the biggest thing is like seeing people with the same type of body as me, having these extremely flat stomachs, taking pictures in bathing suits all the time, taking pictures from the side and it just being like flat and then booty. Like it does make me feel self-conscious, and I don't go out of my way to look at these images most of the time because I'm like, I know that's gonna make me feel bad. I don't want to do that. But sometimes it's just out here and you can't help it. I actually have a friend here. I'm gonna ask them. Hold on. This is Dennis.
Hey. My whole body just cracks.
We're old.
Oh, okay, bud.
You look so good. Oh my God.
Whoa, I need this ring light for vanity reasons.
Vanity reasons. He's a Libra. Can you tell?
Hey.
No, I was just talking because I did this whole video. This is the final thought section, but I did this whole video about slim, thick body types.
Okay.
And I'm just...
And that's why you brought me in. I'm kidding.
But I just was talking about it because I've been feeling real self-conscious about my bod. Like,
okay.
About like how I see a lot of Instagram, like I'm doing a difference between original slim thick bodies like video vixens.
Yeah.
So it's like slim thick, but there was still like a little bit of like softness to their bodies, a little bit of belly, you know, a little bit of this. And Instagram slim thick, which is like the flattest stomach on earth, the thigh gap. I don't really care about the thigh gap. I like having thighs.
but big butt.
Yes, big butt to where it looks like a diaper.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of them, not everyone, but some people. Because one BBL that I saw, she looked really great, and she was half white, half Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
And I think we had kind of similar body types, and she was removing the fat from like her lower stomach and the sides and just putting it there, but she already had some thigh and like some butt and like so it looked really good when she got hers done. Like her body looked like snatched.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got me fucked up because in my mind I'm like, oh, if I have this type of body shape like these women do, I should also have as flat a stomach as these women do. Yeah. But I'm trying to get that the traditional way, working out, exercising, whatever. And it's even harder.
Yeah, of
because
course.
but I know that, but
Okay, so here's the thing. BBLs are expensive.
Not this.
I've looked into it personally, not for myself. Maybe.
You're gonna get a BBL?
No, I'm not gonna get a BBL.
Why did you look like that? Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm not getting a BBL. First of all, I don't need a BBL.
Ooh, that's the truth. That's the truth.
But I mean, that's fair though. Like to be so inundated with that kind of media on social media.
But the thing is I typically try to avoid those. Like I don't follow a shit ton of like Instagram baddies or whatever. Like,
but if I said Instagram baddie, you know what an Instagram baddie looks like.
You right.
She's snatched, tucked,
and stacked, tucked,
gooped and gagged, bound.
Oh wow,
for
whipped.
The gods.
Sorry, you said bound, and I was doing word association.
But I mean, that's fair though. Like that's very fair to have those kinds of insecurities, especially in this day and age, where everything is so like. This all just goes back to the Kardashians, and that kind of hyper unrealistic body type. If you were just a plebe, you know? Which sucks.
The other thing about it then too is people are getting these surgeries and stuff, but I think a lot of us are forgetting that these are trends.
Yeah.
Like this one has lasted it feels like a long time, but I'm sure many women in the 50s were like, God, when's this Marilyn chick gonna fucking wrap it up? Oops, she died. No, that's not fair.
Oh. Fair still.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like they were probably like over it, and then in the 90s, people were probably like, "These models are too damn skinny. When are we gonna, you know?" So
yeah. But like, okay. So the way that I think about it is that no one.
I'm gonna put scratching noises on your foot.
My skin's not dry, honestly. So the commodification of women's bodies.
I was like, sir, not this. The commodification of women's bodies.
We're getting into. Is that what it sound like?
No.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Not yet.
It's true. But like it's true. So like, for women's bodies to be commodified in such a way, and to be policed in such a way by the media, it's been an ongoing thing forever.
And it's like. There's no end.
There's
no end and no right way to live in this type of body.
Like I still remember when like thin eyebrows were a thing, you know?
Oof. Glad we got rid of those. Why are you looking at my eyebrows?
I'm kidding. They look good. They look good. They look good. I'm joking. I'm kidding. Or like, you know, when like big lips are a thing.
They're still a thing.
They're still a thing.
Everyone's getting filler.
It's just like there's no pleasing people.
Yeah.
There's always going to be some sort of trend that women are going to be subjected to because of what's popular in the media.
So, what are your thoughts on BBLs?
Get one. Not you, personally. I mean, if you want one, get one.
Okay.
If you want one and you feel like it'll make you feel better about yourself, get one. I don't care.
I mean, that's the thing too, though. You can't tell people what they can or can't do because
you also okay. Here's the thing. Okay, don't say you never got a BBL, even though you got a BBL.
That's what I was gonna say, because that's actually in my notes. People that get BBLs and lie. Literally, that's in my notes because that is my biggest pet peeve about plastic surgery.
Conniving.
Just say you got it, girl.
Just say you got a BBL.
It is so natural. Natural. But do you know what I mean? Like, so many people have it that, like, I don't care. I think that's my biggest thing. Just admit it, because I think if more people did, we'd still live in a society where, like, people would...
We still live in a society.
I hate you.
Period.
I can't. But yeah, my biggest pet peeve, I think, like, it's not your job to share your stuff. But if people ask you, like, it's not your job to, like, offer all that information. Yeah. It's not your job to walk into a room and be like, hi, my name's Khadija, I have a BBL. Mm-hmm. No.
Unless you want to.
Yeah, if you want to, cool. But if I walk into a space having gotten a BBL, or if I show up on, take a month break from YouTube, come back, and all of a sudden... And I'm like...
Ass on 100.
I'm Curious E. Davenport, ass almighty. Y'all are gonna be like...
Did you get a BBL? If she says no... Girl.
Literally. Like, that's just disrespectful. And I think that's my only... Literally, actually, I think that's my only problem with people that get it and lie.
Yeah.
Because the problem of the BBL in general, or the Instagram slim, thick body type...
Not you doing this.
I know. I don't know why I'm doing this. But to me, the problem with the Instagram slim, thick body type that I have an issue with, that I can't put on any individual person necessarily, is how flat the stomach is and blah, blah. Because that's just the way the surgery works. Like, that's just what you expect. And I understand... because of the world that we live in, people like the ideal of having a flat stomach. Like, that's, I'm sure in Victorian England, you know, that's the case. People had corsets and they were still shapely.
Yeah.
Like, the women were still stacked, but it was implying a flatter stomach.
I'm so sorry. Oh my god, I never thought I would ever be that person. Oh my god, my phone. I'm popular apparently. Hey. It's my mom. Don't lie about it. Like, don't tell me that you did squats and those fucking leg raises.
And you just had, like, celery and water. Bitch.
And you're telling me over the course of 2 weeks you got that.
And that's the other thing, too. So I have started to change up my diet, think about macros and all this sort of stuff. My partner's been helping me with that.
Macros? Macros.
Macadamia nut? Macros.
I love macros.
Macros. Okay. But... like, my partner's a personal trainer and all this other stuff. And, like, she has actually been doing, like, body construction. So, like, figuring out how to shape her body using the gym and what she eats. So I've been doing that. And, like, that's actually been what's made me not feel like I want to get a BBL. And also just been making me feel better and, like, good about the way I'm eating. But with that, she was like, yeah, people will turn around and ask me, how do I lose, like, 20 pounds in 2 weeks? And she's like, that's impossible. Like, if you want to healthily lose weight and change your habits and still eat what you want, but just, like, actually, like, lose weight, you need to think about, you need to change, like,
your lifestyle.
It's just eating at a calorie deficit to lose those pounds, but also, like, making sure that you know that, like, a pound or a pound and a half a week is probably the most realistic thing.
That is the most
like, and that seems very unsexy to a lot of us that are impatient. Yeah. We live in a time of instant gratification, so that's the other part of why the BBL trend is so popular. Because if it was a matter of everyone having to work out and diet,
God forbid someone has to put in some work.
Like, can y'all just do what Adele did? Adele spent like 2-3 years losing weight. What advice do you have for our nieces, nephews, and nibblings, the younger folks that are inundated with these images? Because that's who I care about the most at the end of the day. Adults, y'all do whatever you want with
Make
your
your own
bodies.
decisions.
You know,
Yeah.
just think practically about if this is going to be a good decision in the long run, the recovery time, all those sorts of things. Do your
Do
research, do
your
homework.
research. Yeah.
And then if you decide, yeah.
Get one. So I would say if you want to get one, get one.
As
Do
a
your-
kid,
Oh, I'm so
talking about
sorry.
the youth.
I'm so sorry.
Dennis!
So if you want to get one, get one.
You know what? You know what?
The thoughts of wanting to get one is completely fine.
Yeah.
It's completely natural. It's
Yeah.
completely normal.
You're not a weirdo loser.
No,
You don't
for sure.
hate yourself.
Everyone has body issues.
Yeah. I just talked about mine for the last 40 minutes.
Really? Let's get into mine! Let's go! No, I'm kidding. If you're seriously contemplating it, give yourself a few years to grow into yourself first.
That too. See, I said a few months, but definitely a few years to grow into your, because I don't even know what age your body, like my body is changing and I'm 29.
Yeah, my body's changing and I'm 16, so. I got cardio
Anyway,
today.
it's been great. I'm kidding.
I'll show myself out.
I'm kidding.
Just
But,
wait.
yeah.
Just wait.
This
and-
trend might fade soon too.
Yeah, and also you don't want to do it just because it's a trend.
The
Also.
worst.
Do your research. If you think that it's something that will benefit you and your self-esteem, by all means, go for it.
If you have body dysmorphia, maybe reconsider, because I've just seen a couple of videos of people that do that, like they look great and they're like, they can acknowledge they look great, but they have body dysmorphia. So they're like, I still see all the other things that I could do.
And they're like, that's still not me.
So just tread with caution.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? These are your homosexual auntie and uncle
Yeah.
signing off.
Signing off.
Be sure to feed your plants and water your plants. And remember that you can always change your mind. Why are you watching me like this?
Sorry, this is just so enthralling.
It's so like surreal.
Yeah.
To feed your pets water. Plets.
Feed your pets.
But it's plets because I messed up one time. And now it's stuck that way.
Okay, so it's a
Hashtag branding. Few. Feed. Oh my God, feed your plants, water your plants. You have such a nice smile.
Thank
and
you.
Remember that you can always change your mind, because you can. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye. Why are you? You've been on the channel before. Everybody in this
I'm also
freaking-
here like sitting like I have a BBL. I'm like, God forbid someone has to put in some work.
Like, can y'all just do what Adele did?
Here, all of a sudden into BDSM.
No!
Remember when Tyra did like the whole booty tooch thing? Is that, I'm showing my age.
We're the adults now.
literally-
Somebody said, can you believe we're the adults now? We play too much.
No! Remember when like booty tooch was a thing? Like Tyra tried to make it a thing on ANTM.
Hey, we need to focus, because we're doing...
Do what you want with your body.
Exactly.
As Stephanie Germanotta once said.
Exactly. Hi, are you ugly?
Featuring Christina Aguilera. We don't talk about the other guy.
Lady Gaga.
Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Lady
Lady
That was your turn.
Oh, sorry. Vote for me.
Who else was in that song?
R. Kelly. I should not be allowed on camera.
Oh, no!
Get me out of here.
Every time I do that, I'm like, oh, we shouldn't have rights. Like from this earth or this room?
This room. No.
We shouldn't.
None.
Who gave us them?
Especially both of us.
Right?
At the same time in the same room.
My goodness. It's so hot, okay? It's so hot. It's so hot.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered plastic surgery? If you
Yeah,
don't want
of
to
course.
share. Oh, okay. Well,
Oh,
you barely let me
made
get
it
it out.
work.
Okay.
you have really nice boobs.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've
You most likely have.
I
Why are you
just
even asking
remembered
that?
what I did.
What did you do to them?
I didn't do anything, Kenisa.
It's okay, you can say it.
Do you remember when, like,
I can edit this, so.
Okay, your birthday? I didn't do anything.
Wait, what? When did you see them? Barely. Barely.
Good birthday.
It was-
And like your top was literally like.
What?
Yeah. In the midst of the chaos, I was like, what was the question? Oh my god, like I need to get her hair out of the way, and then like I like parted your hair so you could throw up. Like one was like at 12 o'clock and one was like 3. like 12 o'clock and like 9. It's 9, right? Yeah. I considered my lips, but I was like, wait, no, my lips are fine.
Yeah, you have
My
pretty
lips are
full
literally
lips.
great.
You have pretty full lips. I don't know why.
Okay, so you know the prune thing from the Olsen twins? Sometimes you just grow into yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't, and that's when plastic surgery comes in.
How many times am I gonna keep saying it in this video? Just prune.
Prune. Vote for me.
Dennis, the people's candidate. You're not hot? Don't worry.
Make yourself. See ya.
Wouldn't want to be you. I'm kidding. Could you imagine?
Oh.
That's how I ended it.
I don't.